Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the Catch Your Breath podcast. This is a space for moms just like you to think and breathe in the middle of real homeschooling and real life. And if we haven't met before, I'm Inga, and I'm really glad that you're here. And today we're talking about fog. You know, that feeling when things aren't falling apart, but they're not really clear either. When nothing's on fire, but it's just hard to see what really matters. And this matters because when things feel foggy, the question that we usually ask ourselves can actually make it worse. But before we get into what that question is and how it makes it worse and what to ask instead, it's time to check in. And how are you doing? How's your week been? Have there been moments this week where you felt that fog, where it wasn't necessarily a crisis or that things were falling apart, but you just felt unclear or distracted or you're more tired than you expected? Well, if it helps, as I hope it does, let's start with taking a breath before we do anything else. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 2, 3, 4. One more time. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's your pause. That's your moment. Hopefully you can be settled, and whether you're folding your laundry or you're driving or you're holding a cup of coffee, you can still take a breath right where you are. And I want to talk about this foggy feeling because the truth is I've had it a lot lately. And for me, it's usually when this question shows up. And what's that question? It's what's wrong? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with today? What's wrong with our homeschool? What's wrong with the kids? What's wrong? And I want to say this, that when I ask this question, and I realize I've been doing it for years without even realizing it, for little things like misplacing my glasses or my phone or my pen or my keys, the instant thing that comes to my mind and has always come to my mind is, what's wrong with me? And it sounds harmless, but the reality is, as I was really thinking through this, I realized it isn't. It's not neutral. When we ask what's wrong, it's a verdict. Because the moment that you ask it, something is on trial. You start looking for blame and you assume that there must be a defect, and that fog turns into indictment. And the fog plus the blame, it doesn't bring clarity. Truthfully, it brings panic because now you feel like you have to fix something or you have to fix yourself or whatever it is. And we know that when our brain is busy listing everything that might be wrong with us or might be wrong with the situation, we can't move forward in clarity. And so there has to be a shift. So instead of asking what's wrong, we can try asking what's going on right now, or what's happening right now, or what's up. And that one shift can move you out of the verdict into the context. And context changes everything. And that's what's exciting about it, I feel like, is because when you ask what's going on, you start to notice things that really you skipped before, like your schedule and your sleep or your pace or what's been added or what hasn't led up. And now it's not excuses and you're not avoiding it. You're just naming facts, just facts. And those facts do not accuse you. And a lot of fog doesn't clear because you fix yourself. It clears because you finally are seeing the full picture. That's what really it is. You know, when there's a lot of fog, you can't see everything. And that's what really started to remove the guilt from me. It really did, friend, because I realized that exhaustion wasn't something wrong with me. It was something that was just happening based on certain things, but it wasn't that I was this bad person or this horrible person. I realized that a packed schedule wasn't some personal failure. It was just a reality. And I could just face that schedule rather than what's wrong with me for putting all the things on the schedule. Whether it was health changes or long seasons or any sort of limited margin, they weren't flaws, and they aren't flaws in you. They're just circumstances. And when you name what's going on, then you can stop treating yourself like the problem and you can separate yourself from the situation. And that's where the clarity starts. And it's not that when you separate yourself, you don't take responsibility and you say, okay, this has nothing to do with me. No, you absolutely do. Because it's not about doing nothing. The truth is, after you notice, then you can start to ask yourself the really important questions. When you move out of the what's wrong question, which really doesn't help you in any way, you now can move to, does this need support? Or does this need to be changed? Or can this keep running like this? But now, instead of dealing with this verdict and something that you can't change, you're responding to reality and you're not punishing yourself for it. And that's a completely different posture. And as I was thinking about this, I realized that there is another really important piece of why fog feels so thick sometimes. Because when we stop and notice what's going on, it also gives us a chance to ask another important follow-up question. What is that? It's what is actually in my control right now and what isn't? The only things that we can change are the things that belong in our circle of control. When we start putting things in that circle that don't belong there, whether it's other people's choices, the outcomes we can't guarantee, the timing we don't control, the fog that gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And that fog often isn't confusion. Sometimes it's just overload. It's too many things that are packed into your schedule, which means that they're packed into your brain. So as you're noticing what's going on, it's worth asking, am I carrying things that are mine to carry right now? Even the things that are mine, can I carry them differently? Do I need some more margin? Do I need to simplify? Do I need to loosen my grip or be more flexible in how I'm approaching this? Because sometimes that fog is simply a signal that life has gotten a little too complex. And clarity comes from not necessarily fixing yourself, but sometimes from just simplifying your load. And sometimes, as you're noticing what's happening, you might realize, okay, it's not that I need a new plan. I just need some support. I need some help. And do I have people in my circle of support? Have I reached out to them? Have I put too much weight on myself to carry this alone? Have I put too much weight on just this little circle that I have? And then when we clear the fog and we ask the right questions, the answers that help us usually start to show up. And that's what I've seen in my life. And I believe that it will work for you too. So before you ask what's wrong, I want you to just pause and just ask, what's going on? What's happening right now? And then name it. Just look around. Just notice. And listen, if it feels so foggy that you can't even answer that question, then just try this. What just happened? Because something led you to ask what's wrong. And just start there. And that's your one thing for today. When everything feels foggy, don't ask what's wrong. Ask what's going on. Simple, easy. And you know what? This is a short episode because when things are foggy, you don't need a long episode. You need a quick, easy punch it. So I really hope that this episode was helpful. And if it was, I'd love for you to follow or subscribe so you don't miss future conversations like this. And feel free to share it with another mom who might need this reminder. I want to thank you for being here. I'm really glad you came. I know it was a short time, but I love anytime that I can check in with you, that we can just talk, that I can hopefully encourage you. And until next time, remember to take a moment to catch your breath.